Now, an hour of clarity for exhausted people of our nation mired in toxic partisanship. Left versus right, us versus them. While we pay to keep our politicians fighting, how do we, the people, rise up and solve the great challenges of our time? We do it by embracing freedom and liberty. There may be no such thing as a free lunch, but this hour is as close as it gets. Welcome to A Free Solution.
All right, welcome to A Free Solution. I'm Kevin Wilson, your host today, joined by Tim O'Connor.
The freedom variant. I'm sticking with that.
Sticking with the freedom variant.
Yeah, I
was just going to give you Tim O'Connor. All right, fine. Tim, the freedom variant O'Connor.
It's one of my most ridiculous thoughts ever, calling myself the freedom variant. I just love it. It's hilarious.
Yeah. No, it's great. It's catchy. Love it. And so today, folks, again, it's our Thursday evening show. So our unrestricted show going right through, no commercial breaks. Live, of course, on all the channels, all over the place. We already got people commenting in.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It is a great day for New York. It's an interesting day for New York. I want to be honest, Kevin. I don't think Kathy Hochul is handling this whole Supreme Court decision as well as she could. She seems angry.
Yeah, all the progressives are very upset. That's what we said. Hey, actually, I'm gonna play this Kathy Hochul clip because let's kick it off.
I love it.
That they have taken away our right to have reasonable restrictions. We can have restrictions on speech. You can't yell fire in a crowded theater.
You can.
No, you can yell fire in a crowded theater. No, and even if you couldn't, it's not a reasonable restriction on speech. And why is there argument? She's done this before. Where yeah, exactly. What if there's a fire? Well, but it's wild to me. Again, she keeps going back to this on like the gun thing. Well, we have restrictions on speech. What? No, it's very, very limited, and also we shouldn't have restrictions on speech either. That is also like a fundamental right.
I think
so. Like violating one right would not justify violating the other. Right, I wish we had as few restrictions on gun rights as we did on speech. That would actually be pretty awesome.
They want restrictions on speech. They keep coming up with that faulty argument of you can't yell fire in a crowded movie theater. I can. In fact, yell fire in a movie theater.
Yeah, it is not legal. And also, again, if there is a fire, you're able to do that. And also the Supreme Court case that they're citing where they talk about the fire in crowded theater, that was over someone who was handing out anti-war pamphlets when the government was imposing restrictions on speech. It was a terrible decision and has since been obliterated by the law in other court cases, and it never should have gotten through because it was always unconstitutional. It was always nonsense, but that was the peak insanity for the progressive movement in the early 20th century.
Well, so we are seeing peak insanity for the progressive movement regularly. I want to be clear, man. Like they take an inch, then they take another inch, then they take a mile, and it's like, and look, guys, I'm going after Republicans here too because they're progressive as well. Everybody wants problems to be answered and solved by the authoritarian figures in our society, and that is the real problem.
Yeah, that's part of it. Dar on Facebook says Hochul doesn't speak on behalf of me. She makes me sick. Jamie says, I don't think she actually read the ruling. Speaking of, let's talk about what the ruling actually does. Again, you got all these progressives being they're gonna make it so that every state everywhere allows unlimited access to pistols and anyone can conceal carry anywhere, no matter what, and they're gonna kill us all. And Tim, I guess as much as us libertarians might wish we could just go to Walmart and pick up a pistol and not go through any of the rigmarole of getting the process. Tim, this ruling doesn't do that, does it?
None of that actually comes out of this ruling. It's the issue is you can still have a permitting process. It's going to be much harder for permits to be denied is my understanding of it.
Well, specifically concealed carry, right? So like in New York State, right, when you get a pistol permit, that doesn't necessarily mean you have permission from the government to carry that pistol with you in public, right? Like
Correct.
the default state of getting a permit is that like essentially you're able to carry it back and forth to the range or keep it in your home, and that is it. Again, it's a whole arduous process to get that pistol permit in the first place, but that's all it is. You have to give a reason to be able to carry outside of those other two circumstances, right? In your home or going directly to the range. And yeah, that's it. So all this does is it says, well, New York State can no longer have this arbitrary denial of the right to be able to self-defense, right? This violates the rights of the people who are doing this again. And if you're progressive actually thinking about this thing, right? Like you should be thinking about this as a good thing. There could be judges who arbitrarily deny people the right to bear arms, including victims of domestic violence, including trans people, including minorities, who have.
I hate to jump in, but you guys know, and I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again: gun control is freaking racism and it's economic bigotry. And you look at where these laws are enforced, and you look at the high crime situations there. I trust people with the right to defend themselves, and I think we all need to move in that direction. I'm so disappointed in society, and I have been for a long time.
Yeah. And again, this is an injustice that impacted everybody again, and you never know, and you can kind of see it like in some places it's easier to get that than in other places. It kind of depends on like the makeup of your county, like who's giving you permission to be able to carry or not. In that the arbitrariness of those decisions are kind of what makes it unjust. Again, this doesn't eliminate the pistol permitting process. There were other lawsuits out there to try to do that, including one brought by Erie County.
Yes, ECLP, brother.
Erie County Libertarian Party had brought a lawsuit to try to eliminate other parts of the Sullivan law, which is like kind of the foundation for pistol permitting.
They made a bold argument. Do you recall what the argument was?
I don't remember exactly what it was, but yeah, it was.
I can tell you that their argument was flat out: you cannot restrict our right to carry weapons because the government is prone to tyranny.
That's right.
That's what they said, and it was a bold argument. And the Supreme Court heard parts of their argument.
And actually, they cited cases that should have been like heard, and I'm trying to remember what the exact thing is, but essentially that the cases like Libertarian Party of Erie County v. Cuomo would have been relevant and should have kind of gotten more say and more redress. So in which that case specifically is cited in this ruling.
Yeah. Now, Jamie asked an interesting question. Do you think ECLP can relitigate now based on this new ruling?
ECLP will go back to court, I believe. Probably. The lawyer who was involved with that case, Jim Ostrowski, I know, was posting about it. So, like, I get the feeling they're probably gonna try something. We'll see,
guys. Yeah, if you get Jim is a personal friend of mine on Facebook. If you guys track him down and follow him, he does some interesting stuff. He tells it like it is. He fought a lot of ballot access issues. He's fought a lot of Second Amendment issues. And I think he does it just in a way, just for fun, just for his own entertainment. Like, he goes after these guys. He's a libertarian through and through. He's a minarchist, and guys, he loves to fight the government, and I don't think he's getting rich off of it. I really don't. I think he's taking a lot of the money out of his pocket.
Yeah. No, he has some interesting cases and interesting activism. So definitely someone worth following. And I'm curious to see like what he ends up saying about this case and others. But again, like with this, going back to like the case itself, and I'll post a link for folks if you want to like read it. It is lengthy. Because I was trying to like look for a like part of the case too, because there's like a great passage in there. This is Clarence Thomas writing for the majority here, where he has like, again, great cases where like he talks about like not needing to limit the right of the Second Amendment in the same way that we wouldn't ask government permission to exercise the First Amendment. We don't do that. Like, we don't ask the government to exercise the Fifth Amendment or any others. Why should you ask the government permission before you can exercise your right to self-defense in this way? Which is going to be interesting because, again, that sets up, if this holds, more cases in the future too. If that's the reasoning that this is built on, that you don't need permission to defend yourself.
Didn't he also kind of point at the fact of what one of my favorite catch lines, of course, gun control is racism and economic bigotry.
Yeah.
Didn't he kind of point his judicial finger at that?
Yeah, no, he did. I was trying to find the quote for this before the show, but I was like, it's taking way too long. But essentially he was talking about, in the Dred Scott case, the Chief Justice at the time said that like his worry and his reason for like kind of denying the fundamental rights of African Americans at that time is because then they would be able to exercise that fundamental right, outlined in the Second Amendment for self-defense, including being able to carry firearms in their person. It's like, so this is a long recognized right of the United States. And so in that ruling, they were specifically denying the personhood of African Americans because they were afraid that they would be able to defend themselves from, well, the violence of the mob in the state at the time too. That was, again, throughout history, that has been one of the biggest motivators for restrictions on the right to self-defense, is controlling the lives and the safety and the economic outcomes of Black people in the United States. That's part of it. From Reconstruction through Reagan, that's what it is.
And look, again, it's getting repetitive, but like, I loved the way that Reagan vocalized freedom, that he put words out there that made people feel good about understanding that the government gets in the way of society. But he also participated with the NRA and with fear-mongering people when it came to that group, the Black Panthers in California. Okay.
Yeah.
And he used that as an election tool. And guys, that's something me and Kevin, and I think a lot of us libertarians, are asking people to step outside of that bigoted notion that there are not law-abiding citizens that have a right to protect themselves and their families. That goes beyond the Second Amendment. The Second Amendment is just words that offer the recognition that our government has to recognize it.
Yeah,
right?
They're restricted from taking away our right to self-defense. That's what it does.
Thank you for
we
saying
already have that right.
Yeah. I was going to go off, Kevin. I was popping off on that one.
Do go on, sir. That's yeah. And look, I know, again, there's some folks who like, they're responding to me on Twitter about stuff too, and they're like, this doesn't actually change anything. I'm like, well, no, like there's still like the license permitting regime. Like, yeah, I get it. Like, but this is a good thing. This is a good step in the right direction, recognizing, again, the fundamental right of self-defense and the problems with having to ask government to make often arbitrary decisions related to whether or not you can choose to exercise that right. And kind of two other points about this is, well, one, think about like how this gets enforced too, like who's gonna, like what's gonna happen in this case. Again, this doesn't mean that anyone can go get a permit anywhere at any time to go carry a weapon, but does allow already legal and approved gun owners the right to carry in public? Does that mean that suddenly criminals, every crazy person, can be able to do that? No, it doesn't. Like, that's not what it does.
Felons still can't
again,
carry guns unless they still can't.
They were able to do that before. That's if you were a bad person, not inclined to obey the law, then you could still do that. And again, a lot of times this would catch people in the net of law enforcement who made a mistake. It might just be like, well, I'm going to go stop at Walmart before, I go home with a pistol. And then suddenly they're either at best getting their weapon taken away and getting their permit taken away, and at worst going to jail for stuff like that. And again, the progressives worrying about how this impacts like the communities they say they care about, like disproportionately, the state tends to punish African Americans and other minorities for these types of crimes specifically.
And again,
the gun laws, I said gun laws are racist. They end up getting enforced disproportionately against.
I think that again,
it's just, it doesn't.
I want to talk to my upstate people where we don't live in a densely populated urban area. Our friends that carry are our friends that carry. It doesn't matter to us like skin color, but these laws have the ability to disproportionately affect people in densely populated urban areas. And if you have money, you can find your way around it. There's a skin color issue.
It's a money, yeah, but you're right. It's a class issue too, right? Do you have the lawyers to be able to defend you? Do you know to not say anything to the cops before you confess to a crime? Which we'll get to another case related to that too. Yeah. Like, but that type of stuff. Like, there's all these factors that go into it. But again, it ends up hurting people who aren't actually doing anything wrong in this case. They're just they're breaking the law in the sense that like they carried their weapon somewhere where they weren't exactly supposed to, but didn't actually hurt someone in that process. And again, there's cases of people, like there's a woman who went from, I think she went from Pennsylvania to New Jersey and like had her pistol in the car and faced like 10 years in jail for that.
There's 6 guys in jail in Binghamton, or were in jail last week, that came across the border from Pennsylvania with their cute little biker jackets, and they had their concealed carry weapons on them. They ended up in jail, man. And they were legal gun owners in Pennsylvania. So I don't know what kind of shit that is, but it's shit. Okay. Yeah, and maybe these guys were up to no good, but they were only charged with gun violations. So how, if there is no crime and if there is no victim, how is there a crime? And how do these guys end up in jail? And it's very strangely prosecuted kind of issue. Like the cops put a push on this weekend to pull over dudes in biker jackets. I don't know if that means there was something nefarious going on that we're unaware of, but I suspect that it was simply to prosecute a gun crime. Like that's what I suspect. Probably. I have you guys know I'm a little bit suspicious, and yes, and as Jamie says, the New York State Police stole their vests, put them on display in one of these trophy things that these police stations in these towns are very fond of doing. They put them on display, like, look, I bagged that 12-point buck. I don't know. There's a problem with it.
Slight distraction, slight diversion. Yeah. Did you see the Syracuse TSA photo of all the like liquid they confiscated? Oh my god, that was just like infuriatingly dumb. Like that kept no one safe. Not a single person is safer because they confiscated a bunch of like water bottles and soap from people. It is just
they put it on display. Dumb. This trophy case of big, huge bottles of water. Like, what in the? I mean, what in the world? What kind of dystopian nonsense are we living in, Kevin? Like, this is crazy. Like, these guys are. It's like showing off a bag of weed and $300. Like, oh, we put a criminal behind bars. And these little police stations, they do that. And guys, I have friends that are police officers. I don't think most of them enjoy this kind of thing. Oh my God.
There's the
Well done, bro. Oh my God.
That absolutely ridiculous.
We are all safer because of that table and those containers. Not look at the toothpaste, man. There's 3.5 ounces of toothpaste in those containers.
Like the least they could do is like just focus on like, hey, here's actual weapons that we took. And usually like when they do that, it's like here's a 2-inch pocket knife. No, I mean, you probably couldn't hijack a plane with it, but like just in case.
I mean, look, those hijackers, because we had overtrained people to not resist acts of aggression. Those hijackers got away with murder back in 9/11 with box knives. Okay, and literal murder, literal terrorism. Like they got away with it. So I get the 2-inch to 2-inch knife, but still, people are prepared now. They would never get away with that.
Yeah, so it's different. Like the response people had was because it used to be a thing where planes would get hijacked all the time. Like it's a big thing in like the 70s and 80s.
Yeah.
And like what do you do? Okay, like you wait, you just don't resist. They're gonna land the plane, they're gonna demand ransom.
Yep.
You know, and then like that's how you get out of this alive. And that's
Hey, we're going to Cuba for the weekend. I
Yeah,
thought
right.
we were going to California, but in fact, we're going to Cuba for the weekend. It's all going to work out. And that was not the case. The 9/11 guys were prepared. They knew that. They knew that that's how people would react. I really don't believe they would get away with it again.
No, don't think so. Not at all. All right. So I kind of hinted at one of the other cases too. You know, we talked about the Second Amendment case a little bit. There's going to be a whole bunch of other stuff coming out of this. Like New York State's going to try to like impose some sort of new restrictions on this now. Like we're just going to have to see like what comes of it. Like Kathy Hochul is going to call a special session, and then it's going to get tied up in court again. It's going to be a whole thing.
Crappy. The worst legislation that comes from New York State is crappy reactionary legislation. The banning of 1970s style body armor. Okay, like come on, guys. They can't even authoritarian, right? Okay, like they don't even get the good stuff.
They didn't ban plates. They banned vests. It's just
red flag laws, crappy reactionary legislation. Okay, with
also,
no thought to due process. It's ridiculous.
Kind of on that related note, the people keep being like, I can't believe they would do this in New York State after what happened in Buffalo. Like he wasn't a legal pistol owner. Like, what are you talking about? Like, he didn't have a concealed. Like, stop.
He didn't
look like fools.
I
like don't care. Like there's a thing that I don't remember who said it, but like talk about like there's a pride almost in for certain progressives in being ignorant about gun issues. Like it doesn't matter. Like if it like it tugs on the emotional like heartstrings to like say something about guns and like how you like want to ban them, no matter how like boneheaded it is, no matter how base and ignorance and how many. Yeah, it's just it doesn't matter like how ridiculous it is.
Yeah,
like they get like kudos points like in their own party for that. And that's
don't underestimate the power of signaling your virtue on the internet. You can be as ignorant as you want as long as you're emotional and virtuous. It's a wonderful thing, man. Like you don't have to think anything through. You don't have to know anything. You don't have to just signal your virtue, man. You're upset that kids are dead. Okay. Great. Solve the problem a different way. Don't worship at the government trough where we these people, a lot of the progressives worship that this government response to COVID that damaged these kids to begin with. And I don't think enough people have the guts to say it. I want to be honest with you. Like more people need to say it. The government response to COVID damaged some kids, and that is part of the result. This is what's going on. These kids were damaged by getting locked in their bedrooms for months.
Yeah. All right. Anyways, I want to just like briefly mention some of the other cases too. So we thought, you know, because we had mentioned like, hey, you know, if you're caught, like you have your pistol somewhere, don't say anything to the cops. Just shut up. Just really, that's my not lawyer, you know, advice. Just shut up. Just stop. Do not say anything. Go get a lawyer right now.
Shut the F up, man.
But like when police officers are interrogating you, like there's like the whole Miranda rights thing. Like it doesn't exactly work like the way it does on TV, where they cuff you and they say, you have the right to remain silent. But they're supposed to kind of inform you of you don't have to say anything and you have a right to a lawyer at some point in time, right? And there's this case that went before the Supreme Court that said there was this individual who had kind of given a confession but hadn't been informed of his Miranda rights, and the Supreme Court said that he didn't have a right to like sue because that evidence wasn't suppressed in the proceedings and he was convicted, right? And then that was kind of overturned for that reason, for the Miranda reason. Then it went to Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said no, like you still gave a confession that's admissible, so therefore that can go back to other courts to continue, trying this case. Again, it doesn't totally overturn Miranda, but does
limit your
really
ability to seek redress if
Yeah,
your
yeah.
Miranda rights are violated. Like that's so the Supreme Court, I feel like they traveled down this interesting deal. They did a great job with the Second Amendment thing, but then the back to blue thing, and look again, man, like cops have a hard job, but like there's plenty of instances where they want to make a case and they make a case. Okay. And that doesn't mean that's why we have these rights. That's why we have what we have. Like, and I feel like they're kind of walking that back, man. And they're kind of also reinforcing the notion of qualified immunity, right? Incompetent boobs or malicious boobs get to take advantage of the system and their job and the protections that come from working for the government. And
so there's that Border Patrol case that went up to Supreme Court, and we talked about it on a previous show. They can wantonly violate your Fourth Amendment rights, and
the crap out of you, and you can't sue them for beating the crap out of you.
And there's also like other cases that weren't heard about, federal officers violating people's rights, all sorts of rights, and the Supreme Court declining to take those cases, which in essence would uphold like the rulings that said those individuals couldn't seek redress because those federal officers were doing their job, so they have essentially qualified immunity in those cases. And I'll post a thread from that. There's a Reason writer named Billy Binion who collected a interesting thread on all that stuff. It's pretty disgusting. It's a huge violation of the right to be able to seek redress when the government violates your rights. It hasn't totally gone away, but gosh, it sure is in tatters right now.
I think I found the quote. I hate to circle back around, but I found the Thomas quote that we couldn't quite present. You want to?
Oh yeah, go for it.
Okay, all right. A short prologue is in order. Even before the Civil War commenced in 1861, this court indirectly affirmed the importance of the right to keep and bear arms in public. Writing for the court in Dred Scott versus Sanford, how Chief Justice Taney offered what he thought was a parade of horribles that would result from recognizing that free blacks were citizens of the United States. If blacks were citizens, Taney fretted, they would be entitled to the privileges and immunities of citizens, including the right to keep and carry arms wherever they want. Thus, even Chief Justice Taney, and Taney was back pre-Civil War kind of guy, okay, or right around there, where racism, we weren't sure that we were arguing then that perhaps black people were not people, which was bullshit, and it's still bullshit, okay? Thus, even Chief Justice Taney recognized, albeit unenthusiastically, in the case of blacks, that public carry was a component of the right to keep and bear arms, a right free blacks were often denied in antebellum America.
Yeah, like that quote there, that spicy quote, love it.
It's beautiful, like it's well done. And again, this conversation has to happen over and over again. And if you're exposed to Kevin and I, maybe you feel like you're hearing it too often. But who's not hearing it and who needs to hear it? Like progressives in control of cities are not hearing it. They have not heard it. They want to be virtuous guardians of. I don't even know. I don't even want to finish my sentence. What I want to say because of how they treat people. It's disgusting. So degrading.
No.
If I finished that sentence, we'd have gotten banned.
Thank you for finding that quote though, because I don't know why my search function was not working.
Just got lucky, bro. I just was trying to find something else towards our fake news or later on in the day to be ahead of you a little bit, but it just popped up on my screen. It just luckily, that's all. Just got lucky.
Yeah. Now, so I mean, we go into like there's that case. There's Miranda case. There's the double jeopardy case too, which I don't fully understand that one. I know I was reading an article that was quoting chunks from like Gorsuch's dissenting opinion on that one, but there's like a guy who had committed a sexual crime on tribal lands and then was brought to court by the federal government through like the Bureau of Indian Affairs for like those sexual crimes. He ended up getting like 10 months or something like that. Like it's just a very small sentence for like something terrible that this guy did. And then the federal government ended up charging him for a different sexual crime after a sentence for the same incident, but that carried with it a much, much longer sentence. And so
they came down in favor of allowing that to happen is what.
Yes.
It's so on its face, right? They should have charged him right from the start with the harsher crime and fixed it correctly from the beginning.
Yeah.
And so that I think that we need to guard against zealous prosecution where they took the low-hanging fruit, got their conviction, had this guy locked up. And look, sexual predators are real, Kevin. You know that.
Yeah. Oh, again, like this guy like really committed a crime. The first thing he was, the first sentence he got was pretty light. Like it was, not great for like what it sounds like he did, but
the implications for other style stuff, right? Like that's where it scares me. Like, yes, we all agree this guy probably should have been in more trouble from the get-go, right?
Yeah.
But then what are the implications for other, especially drug offenses and nonviolent crimes that where they say, all right, we're going to convict this guy on the marijuana deal and then we can try him on the acid deal later, and really it's a problem. There's
not great. And there's already the problem too of like the state can charge you with one set of crimes for the same incident, and then the feds can charge you with like another set for the same thing, and that's been ruled legal several times. There's another case, I guess, in like 2019 related to that for a gun violation that was breaking both state and federal laws. So you can kind of stack those. But yeah, this was again the same entity though for the same incident, and then bringing in two separate trials. I don't know. Right. That doesn't seem right to me unless like new evidence comes up and like there's an accusation of a like fundamentally new and different crime.
Right.
Yeah, that doesn't seem right to me.
The implications for them to use this leeway that has been granted is what terrifies me. And it's not like I hang out with criminals. Like I haven't been in trouble a lot in my life, but as we get involved in politics, we have seen people be prosecuted for very minor crimes. And so if we get any semblance of power, that's the part that scares me. Like with our rights being abridged, our Fourth Amendment rights being abridged, our Sixth Amendment rights being abridged, these sorts of things are in a way terrifying to the average citizen. It should be terrifying to the average citizen as we watch these individual rights and liberties slide. So they need to do a better job. And Gorsuch has been kind of a disappointment here.
Like this one, he was on the right side of this one. Again, like if we're keeping score, he was on the right side of the Second Amendment one and on the double jeopardy one, on the wrong side of the Miranda one, on the wrong side of the Border Patrol one.
He was on the wrong side of the Border Patrol one, like horribly.
It was a weird, we thought it was a weird one because he's just like, oh yeah, well, like if Congress wanted to make it illegal for the feds to violate your rights, they'd make a law about it. Like,
baby didn't have his coffee, his medicine. I don't know. Like that wasn't Gorsuch style ruling, right? That was like a Kavanaugh mishmash or a Roberts like nonsense political kind of thing. Like I'm just going to put some words on a piece of paper here, blah, 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 and back the government in its big play. Okay. Like whatever. Robert's been a very big disappointment. And Kavanaugh, as I said, it kind of turned out to be exactly the guy I thought it would be, though. The right went crazy and fell in love with him. And he's literally not their best friend. He's just not.
Yeah.
The constructionalists. Let's go with that way. Like, it's not really a right versus left thing, I guess.
Yeah,
it probably is.
I mean, it is and isn't, right? Like, it's,
Don't want it to
I'm
be.
not going to pretend like I can like understand like how the strategies and ideologies work. There's people who can explain it better than me.
Yes, I don't get it. I think because our brains work one way, like linear thinking. This is what they meant. You're adding mishmash stuff that we can't keep track of. Stop it.
Yeah, I know.
You're adding emotion.
Paul says Kavanaugh and Roberts just go along to get along. It seems. Yeah, sometimes it does seem like that.
Yeah, it does. It really does.
But yeah, it's all these.
Roberts is back big government plays, and then Kavanaugh backs Roberts, and it's like,
yeah,
I don't think you guys are getting this stuff right. I feel like we've beat up on the Supreme Court. Not that they're ever going to listen to us and learn from their bad behavior, but
they are. I doubt they're doing that. And again, there are other like interesting cases out there too, like the school funding case. I might end up covering that like a bit next week, a little bit, because I talked about.
We can't get out of here without talking about that.
You want to talk about that? Go ahead. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, I'll introduce that. So, like, the case that I'm talking about had to do with funding for religious schools. Just the brief, rough overview of it is that there was a school in Maine that was a religious school, as I understood, and then they were trying to become part of like a charter program, and then essentially if the Supreme Court ruled that if the state's going to have a program, they can't discriminate based on religion, right? Like, so if they meet all the other requirements of being a school eligible for this program, you can't say, no, you can't join this program just because you are a Christian, Muslim, Jewish, Hindu, whatever school. You can't.
Or atheist, right? I mean, it's actually an issue of freedom, because right now it's being painted as, hey, the Supreme Court just backed religion. But what it backed was choices in education. It right now is my interpretation of it. I mean,
yeah.
What do you think? Am I right about that?
Yeah, and that's exactly it, right? Like, even if they met all the requirements, they're a private school and they're denied, like, that wouldn't be right either. This is about expanding the choices that are available to people. If you're going to have a program that allows charter schools to qualify for state funding, right?
And guess who hates that, right? Guess who hates that? The big government. Guys, there's Republicans that hate it. There's Democrats that hate it. It's the big people that worship at the altar of big government. The people that endorse the federal education system and the state education systems that we have in place. They hate that they're losing the tiniest bit of power that they already have. The teachers unions hate that. Okay.
Yeah.
So that just made right there is enough for me to be happy. I'll be honest with you. Just even if it's an imperfect world, like that can make me happy.
Yeah. I mean, it'd be great to have other opportunities for people to learn and to try different models. And, especially as I talked about, like, all the massive failures of the Rochester City School District on Monday.
Yes, you did.
Like, and there are sort of kind of charter programs here, but like an expansion of that program might be good for the kids who are struggling with the school options that they have now. Like, if you again, this is kind of separate from like libertarian ideology too, because like,
sure,
kind of like, I don't know, funding, but like, if you really want to help these kids, if you really want to like expand opportunities for like the kids that you say these public school programs are supposed to serve, then again, why not give them more options? Because particularly in my city, like, the public options are not working. Like, we know factually they are failing kids on like a massive scale, and it's creating bigger long-term problems in our city. And so why not try something else?
It is. We should be trying something else, right? Like Larry wants to reinvent the whole entire education system in New York State. I happen to love his ideas and his suggestions. They're beautiful, right? And again, some of my rural people, we don't understand. We have one school that serves like 3,000 square acres or whatever, right? in a city, right? They have a number of schools. They force kids to go to these schools. They offer them exactly the same package, and it's not a recipe for success on any level. Choices would provide opportunity. And Jamie posted that the state of Arizona is now funding the student, not the school. That's at least what we're aiming for. We would like that much more than what we have, which is a train wreck. Okay. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah. No, I hope that's the way it goes. I think we're going to be waiting a pretty long time in New York State, like I said, without just trying to break out of the system completely.
But every little incremental step. So now the state can't deny offering funds to schools that offer some sort of alternative-based education. It's a step. And again, we're talking about baby steps. We're talking about moving in better directions. This is a decent ruling. It's good. If we're going to be giving away government money, give it away to everybody equally. That's it. And then let the market decide, right?
And again, this doesn't eliminate, like, it doesn't mean that like anyone can go and open a charter and get like money from the government. Like they still have to meet.
So thinking of a grift. All right.
Yeah, I know, right? But you still have to meet, and it's similar to like the Second Amendment case. Like they can still make wildly onerous restrictions on accessing this thing, or in this case, like government funding. But they can't discriminate based on religion right now. That's what it is.
Yeah, guys, we're going to shift away from. I think do we have any more important Supreme Court stuff? Because this
probably we'll wait for the it's not the Roe decision, but like the decision that might overturn.
It's coming, man.
We'll talk. It's probably coming soon.
It's coming.
I'm sure we'll have things to talk about.
I don't even want to talk about it. It went after it happens. Like it's a competitive market. The duopoly wants to point guns at the person's. Like they already have it. Let them argue over it. Libertarians need to step outside of that one, man. You have your personal choices. You have your personal views. Advocate for them as zealously as you can. But the government involved in that is creating a real problem. It really is.
Yeah. Nope, 100%.
Let's hit this comment. I like this comment. This is like a proverb or something, right? You can't judge a fish. I think it's an old African proverb. But the first time I read it, it was like in one of those books of quotes, the inspirational quotes. You can't judge a fish by how well he climbs a tree. We all learn differently and excel at different skills, and that's a reality. And that's what we have to break up this government monopoly on education.
Yeah.
So.
I like that, like finding new ways, not new ways to learn, but like finding ways to learn that adapt to like what the child is interested in or excels at, because that one size fits all model of schooling doesn't work.
I promised to solve the problems of the cow murders in, I think it was Kansas.
Cow murders.
The cow murders in Kansas. And actually, I'm not going to solve the problem or the mystery of it. What I am going to point out is that of 400,000 head of cattle in Kansas, upwards of 2,000 of them died from heat exhaustion. Is it significant? Is it proof of a conspiracy against our food supply? What do you think, Kevin? Did the heat killing cows prove this conspiracy?
Nah, you can't do better than that. No, I mean, like, again, it's not. It's terrible, but like this stuff like happens not frequently, but like it does happen from time to time where a bunch of cattle like just aren't able to cool down and they die. And
yeah, well, what a bunch of irresponsible farmers.
Yeah, right. Like it does stink.
Ethically, these guys, whoever let their cows die in the extreme heat, should no longer be allowed to raise animals. What do you think about that? You think I'm on the right track there?
I'd lean toward, like, you'd have to like find out, right? Like, was this negligence? Or was there nothing it could do because it was so hot out, right? Like they couldn't effectively cool the animals and get them into a spot where they could cool. So I don't know. I honestly don't know enough about that individual situation to know. But yeah, like if you're not, it is both a financial loss and like, I know ethically.
What about this? What about this? It's the perfect example of how global warming and the climate crisis is going to kill everyone on the face of the planet. That's it.
Yeah, what do we got? Like 8 years left or something? I don't know.
It's absolutely that one. It's got to be that one.
I in my last 8 years, I'm gonna eat all the cow I can. I know that. That's
What about this? It's proof of our cruel treatment of animals. We don't need that many animals anyway. We should all be eating grasshoppers and lettuce.
So first of all, I was gonna make fun of PETA for a second because they had this like, you know what caused this, like eating meat. If we didn't eat all this meat, there wouldn't have been those cows there and they wouldn't have died. I'm like, well,
that's right.
Wouldn't have been
that's
the
right.
cows there.
Listen, the first
grasshopper, I mean, like they're sort of right, but
it's so abstract. Of course, it's right? Like that, you can't be wrong if you're going to say that. If we didn't eat meat, 2,000 to 8,000. I'm not sure about the real number. It's been all over the place, but 2,000 to 8,000 cows wouldn't have died of heat exhaustion.
Yeah, I mean,
last week.
There'd be a lot fewer cows too,
There would be a lot fewer cows.
I know it's all right. Well, I was gonna mention about like I do not get why people are so mad, like that there are certain capitalists out there trying to like raise crickets. Like I can't bring myself to get mad about it. Like I do not care. I'm fine with it. Like I've eaten crickets before. They're actually pretty good. They're like at this Mexican restaurant, and like they're covered in like this spicy stuff. Like they're great.
Okay, so set that aside. They may be tasty. All right. I think the issue people are looking at is it feels like crickets are getting forced down our throats. But that's an offshoot of how this news story is actually a perfect example of what's going on in society, right? Like, you don't, at this point, no one has written a law that says I have to eat crickets, not cows. And even locally, I see the choices expanding. So some of the things that are going on, some of this growing paranoia, this growing hostility is resulting in good things for my community. Okay. I see little like more and more little farm stands popping up where you can walk in and buy a steak for $10. Like this is a good, some of the results of this paranoia are a good thing. But where this event hits the perfect sweet spot is vegans can be mad, climate alarmists can be mad, people who think that the food supply is under attack and think we are being forced to eat crickets. All it hits that sweet spot of getting everybody excited, upset, and riled up. Now, I'm not saying that we're not having a problem with our supply chain and our food supply. That's kind of a different issue. But this story epically hits everything.
Pushes all the right buttons, gets all the folks mad. Something for everybody.
Is
there something in there about trade policy too? I'll be mad. I don't know.
It's all there, brother. I mean, it hit every high point of every single thing that people are concerned over right now in our society, and it caught everybody's attention because of that. And so, yeah, Paul is out there. Buy local. Yes, buy local. Guys.
You put up the nice buy local thing. I'm putting up the ban cows comment from Patty.
Yep.
Says, according to the CDC, about 22 people are killed by cows each year. Of those attacks, 75% were intentional.
I just love statistics like that, Patty. That's so awesome.
And 1/3 of these attacks were from cows that showed previous aggressive behaviors.
They're not aggressive when they're on the table, man. I'll tell you what, you get those cows on the table. That's it. Ban them or eat them,
cows.
Whatever.
No, we're just fighting back. I will eat the tasty aggressive cows. I know it's I always buy like an eighth of a cow every year. That's my thing. I had steak over the weekend. It's great.
Yeah, I get at least I get a quarter. And I think about twice a year, maybe every 8 months, right? Like it lasts a pretty long time. I like beef, but I like pork and chicken. So how do I,
get pork share too?
Yeah, I honestly, pork is still a good buy. And
I know. We almost bought like half a pig this year, but we're like, shoot, we cannot fit this in our freezer. We're gonna need to buy another freezer to fit.
My
We already bought
holding-
like the chunk of cow, whatever, the eighth of a quarter cow, whatever we had bought, and
my
then
holding paranoia wants to buy another cow, right? And I still got like 30 pounds of ground beef from the last
get
one.
all the cow you can before it's only crickets and lab grown meat.
I know, man. I'm that.
I'll
would
eat.
not-
Actually, I'm not freaked out by lab grown meat either. Like, great. Like, if you can like convince me that like this is the same like protein structure and fat content as like real steak and it tastes like it, whatever. Like, I do not care. I'll eat the Franken meat. It's great.
Guys, I'm gonna make some people really angry. One of my favorite forms of bacon is turkey bacon.
That should make you
really
angry.
like
That's a terrible opinion, Tim.
Everybody
why am I
hates
even
me.
letting
Like,
you on this show?
I
Like,
haven't had it in years because everybody looks at me like I have two freaking heads when I buy it, man. I'm just like
teach your own. I think turkey is foul.
turkey bacon, Kevin. I'm telling you, it's like literally delicious. I don't know. I mean, on a bagel with a little bit of butter, I don't know. It's better than the real thing. I wasn't a big bacon fan, and now like just to prove my machismo and my manliness, now I have to eat bacon. Prove to everybody I'm not some like soy boy latte drinking kind of clown.
Fallen prey to toxic masculinity. Tim.
That's it. I eat bacon to prove I'm a toxic masculine.
Yeah. So actually, I accidentally bought like too much bacon at the beginning of the pandemic. Not too much. Like we went through it all. Like none of it went bad, but like there's this like farmer stand where like, oh, we don't know if we want to go to the grocery store. And there's this like place in the farmer's market that you could go buy a bunch of produce like directly from like farmers and like a food distributor. And so you could say, okay, I want like, cabbage and I want apples and whatever, right? Like you can make a whole list of what you wanted and they bring it out to your car and they're like, you can get bacon too. And I was like, oh, that's like a pretty good price for bacon. It was like 70 pounds of bacon. It was a lot of bacon.
Now, yeah, I mean, honestly, bacon has grown on me, and 70 pounds of bacon in your freezer sounds freaking awesome.
Like it was great. Like I'm glad we did it, and it was great. But we're like, what? Holy cow! What are we gonna do with all this? So we ate a lot of BLTs, and we made like pasta with bacon and all sorts of stuff. It was Steve is throwing out shade there. Steve Becker.
I do, but I do want to
no longer believe you wrestled.
I do want to address this, Steve. I didn't wrestle. I'm 5 foot. At my tallest, I was 5'9". I played basketball. Now my kid, for whatever reason, we had some friends. My kid's big into wrestling, and he's like 6'2". He would be a great basketball player, but he's gonna wrestle. That's it. So I didn't wrestle. I mean, in 6th grade I wrestled, but that was it. So that's real. Like you caught me. You called me out. Like I'm very proud of my son. He's very dedicated to his sport, and he's really pretty good at it. So it's like these things are awesome. But I didn't wrestle. I honestly didn't. My brothers wrestled because like we're built like wrestlers. We're kind of like stocky and relatively strong. Like I'm not kidding. Like we're reasonably strong. But yeah, no, I didn't wrestle. Believe it or not. Oh, good. Somebody else loves turkey bacon.
Paul loves turkey bacon.
Thank God. And then this right here, Kevin, Jamie says turkey bacon tastes good when you fry it in bacon fat. I'm going to say this. Everything tastes good when you fry it in bacon fat. Like
that's good. I mean, so some eggs after you cook the bacon. It's a nice thing.
Yeah.
So and this one, alligator, frog, kangaroo, ostrich all taste really good. And we do not eat around 70% of the edible plants and animals that we consume there. That's true too. I love gator. Like it used to be a much bigger thing when I lived in southern Georgia. Like obviously gator not so big of a thing in upstate New York, but it tastes good.
It's not indigenous to the area.
No, not too many alligators in Rochester. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. So I believe it or not, Kevin, I have some fake news.
Yeah, some fake news.
I do.
All right.
I do. I feel like we just solved this crisis of the cows dying from a heat wave. What do you think we solved it? This was the perfect article to stimulate everyone, and I think that we're going to be okay. I'm starting to get optimistic again.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be all right.
We got it.
Yeah.
Fixed it. Tim, what you got?
All right. So, number one, I got to see if I can find it really quick.
You're like, all right, I'm ready to go, and then no, I gotta find it.
I thought you'd be able to carry it for a little bit longer.
No, that's all right. I was looking at mine because I was getting prepared for like my fake news. So I can go with mine then first. I'll start with
All
this.
All right, I got it. But go ahead. I found the one that I really wanted to dump on you.
Yeah, we'll so speaking of beef, did PETA make an ad with a hamburger giving a man oral sex as a way to convince people not to eat meat?
I'm gonna call this one. I gotta call them fake news because I'm so like the news is so bad and so weird. This one is they didn't do it, but they did something almost as ridiculous. That's my guess.
No, it isn't real.
Okay.
It's an Onion article. But I mean, like, it does sound like something they would do, right? And it kind of went viral as a as like a thing that was real, but no, it doesn't look like it's a real thing. It looks like it was an Onion article that
all right.
It feels weird. They've done some weird stuff.
They have, and so all right. Phew, I got that one right. I'm 1 for 1 tonight. All right. So in Brazil, so we knew when I was a conservative, we knew that breaking down the barriers on the sanctity of marriage was going to create problems, right? There's a young woman in Brazil who married a rag doll. True or false, Kevin?
Real? Sure. Go ahead, do your thing.
She was loveless before she married a rag doll. Merovian Rocha Moraes was loveless before she created her rag doll. They're married, and they now have a baby together.
I'm gonna assume adopted.
No, it's a rag doll baby.
It's a rag doll baby. Okay.
She didn't want to have a baby out of wedlock. So,
oh boy, yeah. I mean,
and look,
whatever. Like, this person might have some issues. If she's happy, I guess.
I mean, she's not unattractive. I don't.
People do the thing, there's just the whole thing with like the pillows and whatnot too. Like that's a.
Yeah. There's a lot of it going on.
Yeah.
So they literally had 250 guests at their wedding, and
popular.
Yeah, she gave birth in just 35 minutes at home with a doctor and a nurse on site. Wow. And get this, guys, this is big, right? Wow. Live streaming it to an audience of over 200 people, according to Jam Press. She didn't feel the contractions and pain. Yeah, seeing the placenta and the umbilical cord and the blood made it all real. He was here in 35 minutes, and he is great. It's
good for them. Good for the happy family.
Because and look, this is all over the place. This made the New York Post on June 23rd, 2002. Like this, apparently, I mean, sure, it's funny, but I guess it's actually real. That Adriana Diaz wrote the story, and it's all over the place. Like it's actually real, Kevin.
Yeah. No, and yeah, Patty's putting up articles now about the people who marry their sex doll and stuff. Like it's a thing.
It's a real thing.
Yeah,
it's a real thing.
I got another one.
All right.
Was the White House going to send out gas cards to all Americans until they ran out of chips for the gas cards? Real news or fake news?
Oh, well, it just so happens the meme wizard, the Freedom variant, posted just such a meme on his Facebook page. I believe that I made the meme myself and took a screenshot of the headlines, and I read the article, Kevin. This
You
is
read
in
the
fact
article.
this is this I did. This is in fact true.
True. Yeah. No, that's which
It's like
I mean, Tim, is sending out a bunch of money for gas going to cause gas prices to go up or down? Like what do you think? What's gonna happen here?
most likely will firmly put the boot on prices of gas, and we will instill or institute price controls like the 1970s, and we won't have to worry about it because nobody going to be getting gas at all. It won't be. They'd be
We'll
like,
just run out. Yeah,
you'd be
you
like,
know.
can I use my card for coffee? And then wait a minute, how am I getting to the gas station to buy that coffee? There's going to be some problems if this stuff goes through, bro. They're like, it's like, let's recycle every Jimmy Carter's stupid idea that like caused all sorts of like chaos and terror.
Yeah. No, I mean, I would love to see more like deregulate the beer industry Jimmy Carter policies than price control Jimmy Carter policies. Like that'd be great.
Now,
Let's
wait a
see
minute.
more of
Did
that.
Jimmy Carter deregulated the beer industry?
Beer industry, the airline industry, like yeah, he had a couple hits there.
See, that guy believed in freedom.
Yeah. But
I mean,
but yeah, like it, but he also created the Department of Education and you know the whole
and
gas
education
thing.
been on a downhill slide. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Has it been? It has been. My kid came home and he took his chemistry final, right? And he like got an 86 or something. And he's like, yeah, or an 88. And then he's like, they're gonna curve that down. They're gonna take some points away from me. So I didn't achieve mastery. And I'm like, all right, look, I don't know what that means, man.
We
But
curve
like
it down? Well, that seems kind of mean.
he's like,
I don't
in
know.
2016, here's the chart from 2000. Like,
Wait, was he in college or in
high school. High
High
school
school, like
region.
yeah, like I've heard like down curves in like college, but like even so, I think curves are down.
He basically okay, he's a bright kid. I'm gonna brag on my kid for a second, but he got like the
Yeah.
highest mark in his class on the regions, and he's like, but they're gonna take points away from me, and so nobody in the class gets awarded mastery according to the regions program. Now, there's something about it that I don't hate, like this toughness of grading on the regions and a test that's impossible to get 100 on. I kind of like that notion, and certainly college was an experience like that for me. And I like it because you can really separate the wheat from the chaff, and you can really find students that excel and don't. But I don't quite understand, and maybe what I have a feeling is that the teacher didn't really understand the process, because if I like I explained to my kid, what if 88's the highest grade in the state? Don't you think you would deserve mastery? Like, I don't think they're going to take points away from you. They're going to curve it across the state or get a distribution of test scores. And he's like, no, my teacher told me this. And I'm like, all right, buddy, I'm not arguing with you. You're kind of a badass. It's fine. Think what you
Good.
want.
I mean, if
We'll
it was
see.
like a percentile thing, like I don't know.
I think
But
so.
like usually, I don't know. I didn't think maybe they do now. Like it wasn't a percentile when I was taking the regions, but I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, and the reasons when I took them was like a very straightforward test. It was like
Yeah, it was
either
like a
you knew
test
the
I
stuff
got.
or you didn't.
Yeah,
That
no, like that's what it was. Like you got a certain percentage for mine, and like I said, I did okay on most of them. I think I got a 100 on the U.S. history regions. I was very proud of that. But
you got 100 on what?
On the U.S. history regions.
Oh, you are really good with history. I mean,
the
Wilson family has
thanks.
historically been really good with history.
Hey, I know where you're going with that. You careful,
You know where
sir.
I was going with that.
All right. You got any other fake news?
Well, I had something that I kind of wanted to talk about, but it's like this big, huge subject. But all right, let me start with this. As a protest, just the other day, it didn't make the mainstream news. Some people took 55 gallons of chicken manure and dumped it on the steps of the New York State Court of Appeals.
Chicken manure?
Chicken crap.
I'm gonna say fake news.
It's actually real news. And what it always pertains to, generally, where it's pertaining to is that there was a case that was going to be coming before the family court in the Court of Appeals, and it was about a dad who wanted better access to his kids, and the guy had been treated pretty poorly, jerked all over the country, couldn't see his kids, went to Wyoming to try to see his kids, couldn't get to see his kids there, came back to New York, tried to see his kids, they couldn't get the guy has no history of violence or anything like that, right? So basically, they heard about the protest. The judge mysteriously was absent the day of the protest, and then the next day they sprayed 55 gallons of chicken shit. And guys, as you know, the family court system, in my opinion, in New York State, needs to be revamped. It's brutal. It's broken. It rewards the most aggressive amongst us. It rewards the first accuser. Don't care what anybody says. It's not necessarily gender biased, but also it kind of is, okay? But if you're not an aggressive female and you don't get a good lawyer and the dude is aggressive, you're going to lose too, okay? Like there's no penalty for perjury in the family court system. There's no it's an issue. And so I was very happy to see these guys protest. And of course it didn't make the news. It would have been nice if it had made the news.
I mean, that does seem like good fodder for the news too. Like, come on, that's get a good picture of that. Just from like a clickability perspective, in addition to like the actual issues itself, it's trying to raise, right? Like,
right. I think that there's an institutional bias against. First of all, we don't. Literally, society doesn't talk enough about the family court system. They really don't. And I think that they should talk about it more. The adversarial process in New York State, other states have moved past the adversarial process. New York State is still an adversarial process when it comes to family court. And it creates a lot of tension. It hurts children. And it minimizes secondary parents' roles in their children's lives, whether it be it a dad, be it a mom. It's a real problem. And look, I've been a men's right advocate because it's not just about men's rights, though. It's about destroying this adversarial process where it's either or, where if we started with a fair presumption, your children are your children. You agreed that that's your child. She agreed that that's your child. Share your freaking children and stop being a psychopath. That's a free solution, everybody. And guys, honestly, what limited amount of success I've had in my life is because my baby mamas are decent human beings. Like, that's a reality. They could have belabored or beleaguered or befuddled me with the leverage that they had in the legal system, and they didn't. And sure, we fought for years, but it worked out, and we share kids, and our kids are turning out okay. So there's your message, America.
all right. Well, there we go. Yeah, I don't have anything to add to that. Yeah, so I mean, I guess that we can wrap it up now.
We can.
Yeah. Oh, we went for hour and 10 minutes almost. So thanks everyone for joining us again. We'll post the podcasts of this whole show. Look for just a free solution on most podcasting apps, or on Spotify or on Apple Podcasts, all sorts of stuff. And
we're everywhere. We're everywhere. We're everywhere, and we should be everywhere. I don't understand why we're not more popular. I'll be honest with you.
Working on it.
We are, and
spread
guys,
the word, folks.
It feels good. It feels good. Thank you for the comments. Thank you for knowing who we are. We do our best to know who you are as well. I enjoy doing this. Thank you all very much.
All right. Well, folks, thanks again for listening. Have a wonderful, wonderful night. Take care.